Hi everyone, welcome to our quarterly broadcast. In this session today, we'll be analyzing marketplaces, what we've seen that has changed in the past year, and what we expect to change this year, and in particular this quarter. I have my colleagues John and Laura with me today. But to start off the year, I do want to advise that we have a promotion with Getida, where you can get up to $7,000 towards AVASK services. So make sure that you contact us just to make sure if you're one of the people that can use this promotion, and we can definitely apply this towards our services. But I'll hand over to John and Laura here to introduce themselves, and then we'll go ahead and start.
Hi, my name is John Miller. I'm International Business Development Manager here at AVASK. Great to be with you.
Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, John. So I'm Laura West here at AVASK, and I would like to tell you a little bit about our long-standing relationship with Amazon and all the tips that we've been able to gain from that relationship and from hearing from our sellers. And that's what we're going to share with you today, some insights that we have picked up due to our experience, just so that we can give you the best chance at success as an e-commerce seller.
Lovely, thank you. So we're going to start off with analyzing how Amazon's facilities have changed in the past year and what we expect to change this year as well. So in particular with their warehouses, we saw that they opened quite a few last year in 2022, and we do expect a couple more to open. So obviously it affects the way our sellers sell and the way they manage their accounts. So John, which ones have we seen that opened last year, and what would we expect to happen this quarter?
Okay, yeah, so in terms of what we've seen in the last year or so, we've seen new fulfillment centers in the US, Mexico, Canada, Ireland, Turkey. And what this means is obviously for sellers and for end customers, more prime and quicker delivery to that customer base in those locations. So we're seeing some real advantage there for clients as well as for sellers. Now, in terms of what we understand to be happening in 2023, we understand that quite soon there's going to be a new fulfillment center in Belgium, an Amazon fulfillment center in Belgium, and another Amazon fulfillment center in Netherlands. So those Benelux countries will be much better serviced. It'll be even faster than it is right now. And of course, there's quite a big e-commerce community in those countries. They're very, very well into their e-commerce shopping, and so those fulfillment centers, I think, will make such a difference. And for sellers, the people that we're talking to today, it just means more and more options.
Exactly.
And with that, of course, you just need to make sure as a seller that you're covering all of the bases with regard to regulatory compliance.
Exactly.
And if it's with Amazon will insist that you do this. So you really can find lots of ways of being guided through all of this. You don't need to find it difficult. You just need to make sure that you've got the right expertise on tap to enable you to make the most of all of this. So I say, great opportunities that are here in 2023.
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly. And we had a couple other sessions with our customs department and our EPR department. You touched up on regulations. Obviously, we have all the expertise in hand that can help you with this expansion. There is quite a confusion in terms of Belgium. They've opened a distribution center, but not a warehouse. So we're really hoping that the warehouse opens in this quarter, and that will expand even more and more for our sellers to be able to use. And obviously Netherlands that you mentioned, Netherlands location is absolutely amazing. Their imports are so easy to do. So Netherlands will be a huge one as well. In terms of how our sellers can plan for this, Laura, what conversations are you having with sellers right now? How can they plan ahead for these new openings, and what should they take into consideration?
So definitely looking at the local requirements. So we've mentioned Canada, Mexico, and obviously new centers in Europe, Netherlands and Belgium that are coming. There's often a lot of confusion between marketplace and fulfillment center as well. So the conversations that we're having now with sellers is to make sure they are up to date with what requirements do they have to, one, get the products into the country, and two, to maintain the storage there and fulfill their products there. So, diversification is huge at the moment. A lot of sellers are very encouraged and very excited about expanding outside of their home country. And we're looking at language localization as well. So, you may sell in Spain currently, but if you're going to sell in Mexico, you probably will need to make certain tweaks to the language, to keywords, so that you make sure you're making the most of that local community with the listing descriptions as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. Obviously, we always discuss how Google Translate is just not good enough. It doesn't pick up on that culture, that localization. So do make sure that you use a professional to do this. But it's easy. Obviously, I know we're touching up on a lot of topics, but if you have the right help in hand, you can expand into all these markets in the right way. Aside from obviously these facilities, we saw that Amazon hosted their first ever event in person. It was invitation only. We were lucky enough to go, but obviously there are loads of events going on now with COVID restrictions finally easing. We can slowly move into more and more of these events. John, you've attended a couple this past year. What have you seen that works well? What have sellers been mentioning that would be beneficial for our viewers?
Yeah, I think, the main take home is, thank goodness now the COVID restrictions have been released and travel is possible.
Yeah.
It's always just so great to be able to be with other people and like-minded people and to be able to learn.
Yeah.
So I think if we just step back to last autumn when the Amazon Accelerate happened, that was an amazing event, and they were able to tell us about new tools that they were introducing, new marketing capabilities, free to use software for shipping, and obtaining discounted shipping rates, and they're always looking for new ways to help their sellers to make the most of the opportunities that are out there. So that was a huge thing. I think in general there are certain themes when you go to these. One of the highlights, I'm sure, for everyone that was at the Seattle event was a high-profile speech by Serena Williams.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So people like that are just absolute amazing winners, and the inspiration that you can get from that.
Yes.
So I think that's really important. For myself, I went to a really interesting event down in Florida. This is called a Powwow. Again, lots of seminars, lots of learning to be had. And I think this is the key with this. As a seller, you're able to meet other sellers, you're able to meet people face to face. You're able to hear their stories and to learn about how they have been successful. So, all of the speakers are people that have got something worth listening to, and I think that's very, very important with this. Also, it brings open to you as a seller, an opportunity to learn about how you might be able to do things differently or indeed more easily.
Yeah.
So, there's a huge ecosystem out there connected with e-commerce, and there are lots of suppliers who really take niche items and turn it into a service, or for the benefit of the sellers. And it's just incredible. Lots and lots of investment, but you can really tap into this and make the most of it. So I think for me, number one, it's a learning experience. Secondly, it's a networking thing. You're talking to sellers, talking to suppliers, and the big thing then is also getting motivated and inspired. We all know that success breeds success, and I think being able to share and learn from these people that have become hugely successful in their field is just so inspiring.
Definitely.
So for me, those are the things, and these events take place around the world. We've talked Seattle, we've talked Florida. Going global in London was another superb event that I went to, there were actually theatres there, sort of seminar theatres. And I think at that particular one, there were maybe 6 theatres that were all going at the same time. So it's really important that when you go there, you check out the programme, maybe mark up your programme about what's interesting to you so that you can go along that. And then also, take a look at what the stands are, who's exhibiting, and what do they have to say. Yeah, thoroughly recommend it. And I think this is something that we're going to see lots of in 2023.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, sellers have met sellers that had exited their businesses as well, which is the end goal for any seller. So that's where you can learn from them, learn what they did well, maybe what not went so well. So definitely connect with these sellers at these events. And as John mentioned, make sure you tap into all those seminars that you want to attend because it benefits you. And as you mentioned, Amazon did announce a couple new strategies that they're now using, and this is thanks to the sellers feeding back. So we've also seen like Wish rebrand thanks to what sellers are telling them that they need. Marketplaces do listen to what the sellers need and will change accordingly. I know, Laura, you went to a couple other events as well. What would you recommend that our sellers maybe look into for this upcoming year?
So it's definitely looking at the different types of events, because as John said, you have a lot of workshop-based events, and also looking at the exhibitors. So if you have particular services that you need, if you're really struggling with shipping or if you're struggling with marketing, then go to an event that has good exhibitors that you can actually speak to them about their service, and often they will be available to do an actual demo with you. So you have instead of sitting at home online trying to find a tutorial or something, you actually have someone standing, a human being that you can have a back and forth with, and they'll respond to your questions and help you straight away. So I think that is a huge benefit. And hearing about new marketplaces and new opportunities that you may have had absolutely no idea about before, to even actually Google that or search that to find out more about it. So it's really an opportunity to learn. As John was saying, knowledge is power. You can then increase your capacity as an e-commerce seller and improve your sales by consequence.
Absolutely. So aside from events, we did see Amazon's first ever Prime early access sale. This was right in the middle of Cyber Monday and Black Friday. So we are seeing these little sale days coming up, and we do expect a couple more coming up in the new year. John, from your experience, what kind of products did we see sold the most during these holiday periods?
Yeah, I think during the special events, what we saw from our sellers was a big uptake in health and beauty for the early access sale back there in the autumn. And that was noticeable. For Black Friday, it was mostly home products. And then Cyber Monday, electrical. So, later in the year, we were certainly seeing more of a technology bias. Rather than
coming up to Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we saw. We of course are always interested to know what else is happening and what the trends are. So we should look forward to hearing about the Christmas period and the Chinese New Year, so that we get some feedback about that. But it's just so important that we keep on top of trends, so that we know for the future
exactly
what we might anticipate.
And I mean, these sales were in a span of 3-4 weeks, and we saw such a difference in the products that were sold. So it's definitely worth analyzing what happened in 2022, see what products sold the most. Do they match with what you sell? And if so, obviously get ready for the sales coming up in this new year. We have a couple of tips. Laura, you speak to a lot of clients from Europe and from abroad. What would you recommend that they do in order to get ready for these kind of sales? So
it's definitely a question of stock, right? So you have to ensure that you are ready for these peak periods. So you can assess your sales as throughout a year, for example, but you may not be used to having, for example, a peak in October as opposed to December or November.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you're preparing the months in advance, because obviously, depending on the shipping, the process that you'll use, and depending also on where you're sourcing your products from as well, the time it takes, but also their own local holidays that they have too. We've touched on Chinese New Year, so this can have a huge effect. And then you're looking at pricing as well. If everyone's doing sales, they are going to expect lower prices, but people still compare, between competitors, between platforms as well. So just ensuring that, it sounds obvious, but it's not always something that is, taken on board by sellers, is looking at your margins specifically in these sale times. And, we see supermarkets do it. They raise the price to then put it out of sale and have a nice little sale tag on it. And these are, proven to work. They work for increasing your sales during these times. So those would be, I think, the main tips to look at that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you touched on a really good point there. Obviously, looking at different markets is key. Just don't focus just on the one marketplace, such as Amazon. There are other marketplaces out there. Obviously, we all know eBay, Allegro, Cdiscount, but there are very niche marketplaces. Now that we're on the topic of products, there's certain marketplaces that specialize in particular products. So, John, obviously, you're concentrated in the UK, in the English-speaking community. What marketplaces have you seen that are rising a bit more, that are a bit niche to specific products?
Yeah, I think in terms of the big general ones, obviously there's the Etsy, there's the Best Buy, and so on, along with Amazon and Walmart, the big ones. But also we're seeing specialization for toys. Toys is a big thing on e-commerce. So we've got Smith's Toys, or we've got Game for video games. We've also got the rise of DIY, sort of home improvements and DIY. Mano being one, B&Q being another. Zalando in fashion seems to be increasing as well. So that's coming across from continental Europe. And then we've got Wayfair for furniture. So a lot of sort of niche products also finding their way through onto that as a particular platform. And I think in terms of sellers being able to do that there's something here about making the most, exploiting the opportunities of these different platforms, but also there's something in here about risk as well. And as sellers, as business people, we need to do what we can to manage risk and also make the most of opportunities. And so some diversification in terms of platform, I think is really quite important. In terms of other things that we've got going on here, we've got a UK marketplace with no listing cost, just 5% of the purchase. And so we are seeing some models of different kinds of commission and fee structures here. So again, worth shopping around, just so that and actually taking the time and effort to do that little bit of analysis, that mathematics that actually helps you to understand where you're most profitable. And then we've also got this Woo marketplace that has been by ITV in the UK. So it's not a shopping channel per se, but it's a platform. And again, these kinds of innovations, particularly targeting Generation Z, as we say. So there's a question here about whether these are trends, whether they're new business models, what exactly is happening. But certainly very much worth looking at. We're also looking at TikTok, which has been launched in the UK, and it's fulfilled by TikTok too. So again, in terms of these models, it's really important and really interesting. And if we sort of circle back again to what we were talking about, the stock and the high pressure times, I think as businesses we've got to be very agile here. And we've got to recognize that there's a lot of forward planning that can and should be done, but actually being able to move quite quickly is important. So, if you've got some room in your supply chain to be able to just do a few things that are a bit faster to capitalize on certain things, of course, you might not be able to do all your product range, but maybe some key items, you can just build in some agility to make the most of these different opportunities that come along, whether it be seasonal or whether it be new entrants into the market that you can grab a piece of pretty quickly. So I think it's lots to consider here, and it's really worth doing some homework.
Absolutely. I mean, you've touched up on the new generation. They're all on TikTok. I think TikTok was actually the most downloaded app last year. So definitely TikTok's going to be the one. And while you have your listings translated, we were talking about localization before. If you've already invested into translating these listings, why not use what you've invested in to apply onto other marketplaces? The investment has been done. It's just a matter of expanding and making sure you have the right inventory. But as John rightly said, try maybe a couple products first and then start using this platform in more detail. Obviously, we've touched on a couple in the UK, the US, but Laura, from your European clients, what kind of marketplaces are we seeing coming up?
So looking at marketplaces, it obviously is very dependent on where the country is and also the consumers that you're looking to speak to within that country. So you're looking at Cdiscount in France, which is a big competitor of Amazon, and you might find that the culture within the country is specifically wanting to support their platform. So Cdiscount is a French site, and you have Allegro in Poland, which is obviously their national e-commerce website as well.
Enormously popular, isn't it?
Yes,
it's
big
some
competitor.
Astonishing number, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Of customers that they have on there.
And since COVID as well, I think we've seen a lot of buy in your own country, make use of the local
and made in France or made in, gives that product an edge on maybe something that we often see as made in China, which is the typical thing that we see. And this is something that actually Wish, as you were mentioning before, is changing a little bit. They don't want to be seen as the cheap option that sells fast fashion or throwaway products. They want to improve the view on the quality of the products. And then you're looking at, I'm sure we've all seen the protests by people supporting the environment, and that is becoming more and more, a conversation that is very much topical. So we're looking at platforms becoming, such as Wish, becoming more aware of the environment and making sure they are shown to support that, to just encourage more buyers and improve the reputation of the website, but not only that, the products that they are selling as well. So it's really a change in the way that we consume and the way that we view products online.
Exactly.
And sustainability, I think, is really a key concept in all of this, isn't it? And it's certainly getting a lot more traction, and it's clearly important. And indeed, certain governments now are also really promoting this, aren't they? We've now got the extended producer responsibility in Germany and in France. That's going to be extended very shortly into other nationalities. And I just think, it's very much a people-driven concept and something that, as business people, we absolutely have to take very, very seriously and work on. And I think some platforms are doing better than others on that. But, we'll wait and see. It's still relatively early days. It's still a relatively new movement, but we are seeing more for sure. We're seeing more.
Absolutely. Well, lots of exciting things to come in this next quarter and this year. Obviously, if you do have any questions on anything that we spoke about today, do get in contact with us and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you and discuss any questions that you might have. But I do think we have a couple questions coming up live today, so we'll be answering those. But if anyone wants to just put it on the chat and we'll be answering them for you.
Thank you so much.
Great. So we have a question here. I don't plan on selling my brand as I don't trust aggregators. What would you recommend as other options to exit or to keep developing the brand?
So, I mean, as a brand, there's many ways that you can develop. As we've said, you can sell on multiple marketplaces or sell on your own website. When you are developing a brand and you want to sell into new countries, you need to look at the specific certificates that you might need according to your products. So that's something to take into account. I mean, in terms of selling the brand, I mean, you could look at joining other brands or selling to, if you're not trustworthy, you can find contracts and make sure that maybe it's the essence of the brand that you want to maintain, and you're not sure if that's going to carry on once you do sell. In which case, there are plenty of other options that you can look into if you don't want to exit. You can develop.
Yeah, and obviously we have an M&A department as well that can help you, so we can look at different aggregators and give you maybe the best choice, our opinion on them as well, and maybe that will help you bring up your trust. You obviously don't have to sell. I know it's a goal for a lot of sellers, but it doesn't have to be your goal. But you do have people that can help you if you don't trust them.
Yeah, I think trusted advisors is really so important in all of it. So we recognise that actually, once you've built a successful business, a successful brand, it's important you care about it, right?
Of course.
You care about it.
Exactly.
And so I think the big thing here is to make sure that you get the right advice. And here at AVASK, we're very, very happy to help with that. But that's the key thing, I think.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're happy.
Yeah.
You've put so much time and effort into the development. You need to be happy. You need to. So great question. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've got, is eBay still a strong marketplace in Germany? I mean, eBay is strong everywhere, really. It's probably the second one. But we do have niche ones, as we were mentioning. It does depend maybe on the product that you sell. We speak about a country as a whole, and we have Amazon, eBay, Etsy. But it might depend on what product you particularly sell. Obviously, Zalando is based in Germany. So if you do sell fashion, that could be one for you. We've spoken about a couple others.
Yeah, bol.com, there's Allegro in Poland. There's a lot of different marketplaces that people will use in Germany. So eBay, as you said, is huge. Kaufman, but eBay, I think you can't go wrong with eBay. It's often seen as the alternative to Amazon. So someone may check the price on Amazon and let me have a quick Google and see what the price is on eBay as well. So it's definitely, I would say, yes, a strong marketplace.
We've got, I sell white goods on Amazon in the PAN EU6. I've heard there's a secondary tax when expanding into Sweden. That's right. So for anyone watching that doesn't know the PAN EU6, that's one of Amazon's programs where you ship into one country and then it redistributes across the countries that actually you selected. So it's a great tool to use with Amazon. But yes, you're right. There is another tax when it comes to Sweden, isn't there?
It's the chemical tax.
Yes.
Exactly. So as you've mentioned, you're selling white goods. So there's obviously chemicals and electric components that are included in those products. And for the recycling of those products, and when they come to the life's end in 10 or 6 or however many years, the goal is that Sweden can then account for the recycling or the so that they are not just, thrown into landfill.
Right.
Exactly. So, of course, we can assist you with the registration, with any questions that you have about chemical tax, without any issue.
Yeah, and we go back to the sustainability that you were touching up on. Every country has some way of introducing sustainability, and with Sweden, it's chemical tax for particular products. So in your case, yes, we can assist you and just make sure that's in place.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, I think we don't have any other questions. This quarterly broadcast will be every quarter, so please make sure to tune in. And don't forget, we have the Gatita promotion that you could be eligible for. It's up to $7,000 towards AVASK services. So make sure you get in contact with us and we can see if we can apply this to your expansion. But thank you so much for having us. Thank you, John. Thank you, Laura.
Natalia.
My
And we'll
pleasure.
see
Thank
you in the
you.
next one.
Thank you.
1, 2,